The stars looked different out here. Captain Veltar pressed his scaled hands against the cool surface of the observation deck and watched the distant suns twinkle in the black void. His ship, the Stellar Harmony, had been patrolling this empty sector for 3 months now. Nothing ever happened here. That was the point. The Zephyrian Confederation liked to keep quiet borders. Too much noise attracted the wrong kind of attention. Pirates mostly, sometimes worse things from the outer rim. Veltar had seen enough combat in his younger days to appreciate boring patrol duty now. "Captain," came a voice from behind him. Lieutenant Kesra approached with quick, nervous steps. Her blue scales shimmered under the ship's lights. "We have something on the long-range sensors." Veltar turned away from the stars. "What kind of something?" "Unknown vessel, sir. Drifting about 2 light hours from our position." Kesra held up a data pad with preliminary scan results. "It appears to be damaged." The captain took the pad and studied the readings. The ship was roughly cylindrical, maybe 300 meters long. Its energy signature was weak, very weak, the kind of readings you got from a dying vessel with failing power systems. "Any response to standard communication attempts?" Veltar asked. "None, sir. The vessel appears to be adrift." Kesra paused. "Should we investigate?" Standard Confederation protocol was clear. Unknown vessels in contested space were to be scanned, cataloged, and reported to command. If they posed no immediate threat, patrol ships could board and search them for useful intelligence or technology. "Set course for the vessel," Veltar ordered. "Full scan when we get within range." The bridge crew worked efficiently as the Stellar Harmony changed course. Veltar had trained them well during their months of patrol. Even boring duty required discipline. 2 hours later, they arrived within visual range of the unknown ship. Veltar studied it through the main viewer. It looked primitive. The hull was a dull gray metal with visible welding seams. Strange symbols were painted along its sides in faded white letters. The overall design reminded him of ships built by species that had barely mastered space travel. "Full sensor sweep," he commanded. Science Officer Thorne worked at his station, his tentacles dancing over multiple control surfaces at once. "Reading basic fusion propulsion, Captain. Crude armor plating. Energy output is minimal. Life support appears to be inactive." "Dead ship?" Veltar asked. "Possibly. Or in deep standby mode." Thorne paused, studying his readings more carefully. "Sir, there are some unusual materials in the hull composition. Nothing dangerous, but different." Veltar nodded. Every species had their own preferences for building materials. Some used crystals grown in zero gravity. Others preferred metals found only on high-gravity worlds. The variety never ceased to amaze him. "Any signs of recent battle damage?" "Extensive scarring along the hull, sir. Weapons impacts. Some appear to be from energy weapons. Others look like kinetic damage." Thorne's voice carried professional interest. "This ship has seen combat, but not recently." The captain made his decision. "Prepare a boarding party. Standard first contact and salvage protocols." Lieutenant Kesra selected 4 security officers while Thorne gathered his portable scanning equipment. They suited up in full environmental gear and took a shuttle across the empty space between ships. Veltar watched from the bridge as the shuttle approached the unknown vessel. The alien ship had no obvious docking ports, but the boarding party found an airlock that seemed compatible with their equipment. "Shuttle to Harmony," came Kesra's voice over the communication system. "We're attempting to interface with their airlock now." "Understood. Proceed with caution." The next few minutes passed quietly. Veltar could see the shuttle attached to the alien ship's hull like a small parasite. His crew waited patiently for the boarding party to establish entry. Then everything went wrong at once. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. The ship's defensive system screamed alerts. Veltar spun toward the tactical station where Commander Zeth was frantically working his controls. "Sir, the alien vessel is powering up weapons." "What?" Veltar stared at the main screen. The dull gray ship didn't look any different. "Are you certain?" "Multiple energy spikes detected. Something big is charging up inside that hull." Zeth's voice was tight with concern. "I'm reading at least 6 separate weapon systems coming online." The communication system crackled. "Captain, this is Kesra. The airlock just sealed us out. We can't get back to our shuttle." Veltar felt his blood run cold. A dead ship didn't power up weapons. A dead ship didn't activate security protocols, which meant this ship wasn't as dead as they had thought.
"Zeth, get our shields up, now!"
"Shields rising, sir." The alien vessel began to move. Attitude thrusters fired in precise sequences, rotating the ship to face the stellar harmony. Whatever was controlling it knew exactly what it was doing. Multiple target locks detected, Seth reported. They have weapons trained on us from 6 different positions. Veltar had commanded ships for 15 years. He knew when he was looking at superior firepower. The alien vessel might look primitive, but it was acting like a predator that had just been woken up. "Open all communication channels," he ordered. "All frequencies." "Channels open, sir." "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Veltar of the Zephyrian Confederation ship Stellar Harmony. We did not intend to threaten you. Please respond." Silence stretched across the bridge. The alien ship continued to track them with its weapons. "Sir," came Kessler's voice from the shuttle. "We're detecting movement inside the vessel. Something is happening in there." Veltar made a command decision. "All boarding party members return to your shuttle immediately. Do not attempt to enter the alien vessel." "Understood, Captain. We're detaching now." The shuttle pulled away from the alien ship just as more systems came online. Lights appeared along the vessel's hull in patterns that suggested active corridors and workspaces. The ship was definitely waking up. "Shuttle is clear," Zeth reported. "Take us back to a safe distance," Veltar ordered. "Slowly. No sudden movements." The Stellar Harmony began backing away from the alien vessel. For several tense minutes, both ships watched each other across the empty space. The aliens' weapons remained trained on them, but it made no aggressive moves. Finally, when they had reached what Veltar hoped was a respectful distance, the alien ship's weapons powered down. The vessel rotated away from them and began moving slowly toward the outer system. "Should we follow?" Zeth asked. Veltar studied the retreating ship. Whatever species had built it clearly had no interest in conversation. They had made their point. The boarding attempt was not welcome. "No, let them go." He turned to his science officer. "Thorn, I want a complete analysis of everything we just recorded. Ship design, weapon signatures, propulsion systems, everything." "Yes, sir." As the alien vessel disappeared into the darkness between stars, Veltar felt a deep uneasiness settle in his stomach. They had just encountered something that defied their initial assessment. A ship that looked primitive but acted with the precision of advanced military technology. He had the uncomfortable feeling that they had just made first contact with something much more dangerous than it appeared. 3 days had passed since the encounter with the unknown vessel. Captain Veltar found himself staring at the same reports for the 100th time. The more his science team analyzed their data, the less sense it made. "Sir," Science Officer Thorn approached the captain's ready room with another data pad. His tentacles moved in the nervous patterns that meant he was excited about something. "You need to see this." Veltar looked up from his desk. He had been trying to write a report for Confederation Command. But how do you explain an encounter that defied every first contact protocol? What have you found? Thorn activated the room's holographic display. A 3-dimensional image of the alien vessel appeared, rotating slowly in the blue light. "We've been running detailed analysis on our sensor data. The initial scans only showed us surface details. But when I began processing the deep structural scans we took during the weapons activation, the hologram changed. The solid hull became transparent, revealing the internal structure of the alien ship." Veltar leaned forward, studying the maze of corridors, rooms, and machinery. "This makes no sense," Thorn continued. "Look at these support structures." Red lines highlighted sections of the ship's framework. "The metal composition is impossible. It contains elements that shouldn't exist in nature." "What do you mean?" "I mean these alloys require manufacturing processes that would need temperatures approaching those found in stellar cores. No known species has technology capable of creating materials like this." Thorn manipulated the display, zooming in on specific sections. "But somehow this ship is built entirely from these impossible metals." Veltar studied the highlighted areas. The ship's internal structure looked almost organic. Support beams curved and branched like the bones of some massive creature. Could our sensors be malfunctioning? I thought so too. I ran diagnostics 12 times. The sensors are working perfectly. Thorn changed the display again, but that's not the strangest part. Look at this. The hologram now showed the ship's power systems. At the center was a sphere of brilliant energy surrounded by complex machinery. Veltar had seen many different types of starship reactors. This was unlike any of them. What am I looking at? Their power source. We initially read it as a basic fusion reactor. Thorn's voice carried a mixture of excitement and fear, but the deep scan reveals something completely different. This isn't fusion, Captain. It's a contained stellar core. That's impossible. They have a miniature star inside their ship, not a fusion reaction, an actual star, somehow compressed and controlled. Thorn manipulated the display, showing energy conduits spreading throughout the vessel. The power output should have vaporized the entire ship instantly. Instead, it's running their life support systems like it's no more dangerous than a battery. Veltar stood up and walked closer to the hologram. The energy patterns were beautiful and terrifying.
How is that possible?
I don't know. The containment systems use principles I can't even begin to understand. It's like they've learned to tame the forces that power entire solar systems. The captain felt that same uneasiness from 3 days ago growing stronger. What else have you found? Thorn changed the display once more. Now it showed the ship's exterior, but with different highlighting. The hull scarring we detected. I've been analyzing the damage patterns. The hologram showed dozens of impact sites across the vessel's surface. Some were small pits from energy weapons. Others were massive gouges that cut deep into the ship's structure. These weapon impacts tell a story, Captain. This ship has been in combat with at least 15 different weapon types. Some I recognize from known species. Others, Thorn paused, others use principles I've never seen before. How old are the scars? That's what's interesting. They span a huge range of time. Some are very recent, maybe months old. Others are ancient, possibly centuries. Thorn highlighted different damage areas in various colors. This ship has been fighting for a very long time. Veltar studied the pattern of damage. The older scars were concentrated toward the rear of the vessel. The newer ones were spread more evenly across the hull. It looks like they learned to distribute damage better over time. Exactly. This suggests a species that adapts their combat techniques based on experience. Thorn manipulated the display to show the ship's weapon systems. And speaking of combat, I've analyzed their weapons. The hologram revealed the 6 weapon emplacements that had targeted the stellar harmony. They looked deceptively simple from the outside. Just small protrusions on the hull with minimal visible machinery. Basic energy weapons? Veltar asked hopefully. Not even close. Thorn's tentacles moved faster now. Each of these weapons can channel power directly from their stellar core. The energy levels they can generate would be enough to crack a planet's crust. The captain felt his scales go cold. Are you saying they could have destroyed us easily? Instantly, without even straining their power systems. Thorn changed the display to show targeting data. But here's what really concerns me. During our encounter, their weapons were tracking not just our ship, but our shuttle, our boarding party, even individual crew members through our hull. How is that possible? Their sensors are so advanced they can distinguish between different crew members by their biological signatures. They knew exactly how many of us there were, where we were standing, and probably what we had for breakfast. Veltar walked back to his desk and sat down heavily. The alien vessel hadn't been just primitive ship that got lucky. It had been an advanced warship choosing not to eliminate them. There's more, Thorn continued. I found something else in our sensor logs. The hologram changed to show a wider view of space around their encounter. While we were focused on the main vessel, I detected trace signatures of other ships in the area. Other ships? At least 3, possibly more. They maintained complete sensor silence, but they left faint gravitational disturbances in the local spacetime. Thorn highlighted barely visible areas in the display. I almost missed them completely. Whoever built these ships has stealth technology that makes them nearly invisible to our sensors. The implications hit Veltar like a physical blow. They hadn't encountered one primitive alien vessel. They had walked into a formation of advanced warships that had allowed them to detect only one. So we were surrounded, he said quietly. It appears so, sir. And they let us leave. Veltar stared at the holographic display showing the impossible alien technology. A ship powered by a contained star, weapons that could destroy planets, sensors that could track individual life forms across space, stealth systems that made entire fleets invisible. Thorn, I want you to run one more analysis. Yes, sir? Compare this technology to everything in our databases. Every known species, every theoretical research project, every classified military development. Veltar met his science officer's eyes. I need to know if anyone in the Confederation has ever seen anything like this before. Thorn's tentacles moved in acknowledgement. I'll have results within a few hours. As his science officer left the ready room, Veltar turned back to the holographic display. The alien ship rotated slowly in the blue light, keeping its secrets. He had spent his career believing the Confederation was the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Now he was beginning to suspect they might be children playing with toys compared to whoever had built this vessel. Science Officer Thorne had been working for 18 hours straight. His tentacles moved across multiple control surfaces, while his main eyes focused on the holographic displays surrounding his workstation. The computer systems hummed quietly as they processed massive amounts of data. Captain Veltar entered the science lab carrying a steaming cup of kava. He needed the stimulant to stay alert. The last few days had been filled with disturbing discoveries about their mysterious encounter. "Report," he said, settling into a chair beside Thorne's workstation. "The database search is complete, Captain." Thorne's voice carried exhaustion and something else. Fear, perhaps. "I've compared our sensor readings against every known technology in Confederation records. And most of what we detected has no match in our databases. The stellar core containment system, the impossible hull materials, the sensor resolution capabilities." Thorne paused, manipulating several displays at once. "But some elements do have matches." The holographic display showed a comparison chart. On one side was data from the alien vessel. On the other were scattered records from Confederation archives. "These weapon signatures," Thorne highlighted specific energy patterns, "match weapons used by the Krell Empire." Veltar leaned forward. "The Krell were destroyed 300 years ago." "Exactly. These energy patterns should not exist anymore." Thorne changed the display. "And this hull scarring here matches projectile weapons used by the Vorthan Collective. The Vorthans have been extinct for 8 centuries. "Yes, sir. And this damage pattern matches weapons from the Nazari fleet, extinct for over a millennium." Veltar stared at the evidence. The alien ship carried battle scars from civilizations that no longer existed. How is this possible? Either our historical records are wrong about these species being extinct or— Thorne paused. "Or this ship fought against all of them before they disappeared." The captain felt a chill run through his scales. "Show me more." Thorne activated additional displays. The lab filled with holographic images of weapon impacts, energy signatures, and material analysis data. "I found evidence of combat with 14 different species. 7 of them are officially extinct. 3 more are classified as missing by Confederation records. Missing? Species that were known to exist but suddenly stopped all communication and activity. The Confederation assumed they had destroyed themselves in wars or natural disasters." Thorne highlighted areas of the alien hull. "But this ship has fresh battle damage from weapons matching their technology." Veltar studied the patterns. "How fresh?" "Some of these scars are less than a year old. The Garrick Dominion weapons, for example." Thorne pointed to specific damage areas. "The Garrick were declared missing 2 years ago when they stopped responding to all diplomatic contact." "You're saying the ship fought the Garrick recently?" "The evidence suggests it." "And won." Thorne changed the display to show internal ship structure. "But there's something else. I managed to decode some data fragments from our attempted boarding. I thought their security systems blocked our access." "They did. But our equipment managed to record some information before being shut out." Thorne activated a new holographic display. "What I found challenges everything we know about galactic history." The display showed fragments of what appeared to be star charts. But these weren't normal navigation maps. They showed the galaxy as it had existed centuries ago, with territories and civilizations marked in various colors. "These are historical records from inside the alien ship," Thorne explained. "They show the locations of species and empires across thousands of years of galactic history." Veltar studied the charts. He could identify some of the territories. The Confederation's space was marked, but much smaller than its current borders. Surrounding it were dozens of other civilizations, many of which he recognized from historical records. "Look at this." Thorne zoomed in on a specific section. "This shows the Krell Empire at its peak. 60 star systems under their control. According to our records, they were destroyed by internal rebellion. But, according to these charts, they were destroyed by something else. Something that systematically eliminated their entire fleet and occupied their territory." Thorne highlighted the progression of changes across multiple time periods. "The same pattern appears for the Vorthans, the Nazari, the Garrick, and 7 other species." The captain studied the evolving star charts. In each case, a thriving civilization suddenly disappeared, their territory becoming empty space or being absorbed by neighboring species. What destroyed them? I don't know. These charts don't show the attacking force clearly, but they do show something interesting. Thorne manipulated the display to show the most recent time period. Look at the current galactic map according to their records. The holographic display showed known space as it existed today. The Confederation controlled its familiar territory. Other known species occupied their expected regions. But there were differences. Large sections of space that the Confederation considered unexplored were marked as occupied territory. They know about species we haven't discovered yet, Veltar said quietly. Or species we think we've discovered but haven't actually made contact with. Thorne zoomed in on specific areas. Some of these regions are listed in our navigation databases as dead systems, no intelligent life detected. But according to their charts, heavily populated, multiple civilizations we've never heard of. Thorne paused. Captain, I think we need to consider the possibility that our understanding of galactic civilization is incomplete. Veltar stood up and walked around the holographic displays. The evidence was overwhelming. The alien ship possessed historical records that went far beyond Confederation knowledge. It had fought against species that officially no longer existed. It knew about civilizations that had never been contacted. There's one more thing, Thorne said quietly. I found reference to a species designation in their data fragments. What kind of designation? A classification system. They catalog different species by their combat capabilities, technological development, and threat levels. Thorne brought up a new display. The Confederation is listed in their records. What's our classification? Thorne hesitated. Category 7. Non-threatening. Suitable for controlled contact only. Veltar felt his world shift. The Confederation considered itself one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. Their military was advanced. Their territory was vast. Their technology was sophisticated. To be classified as non-threatening by the aliens was deeply disturbing. What categories exist above 7? The scale goes up to Category 1, reserved for species classified as galactic threat level. Thorne manipulated the display. According to these fragments, only 12 species in galactic history have ever achieved Category 1 status. What happened to them? Thorne's tentacles moved in patterns that indicated uncertainty mixed with fear. According to these records, 11 of them were eliminated. Their civilizations were completely destroyed. Their technology was captured. Their territory was marked as quarantine zones. And the 12th? Unknown. The designation exists, but there's no clear identification of which species holds it. Thorne paused. But based on the sophistication of these records and the advanced technology we've observed, Veltar understood. The 12th category. One species was the one that had built the ship they encountered. The species that had systematically eliminated the most dangerous civilizations in galactic history. The species that considered the Confederation to be harmless children. Sir, Thorne said quietly, I recommend we modify our report to command. How so? I suggest we classify this as a peaceful first contact with a previously unknown species. No mention of their technology levels or military capabilities. Veltar studied the evidence surrounding them. The alien ship represented a power that dwarfed anything the Confederation could imagine. A species that had been fighting and winning wars for millennia, while the rest of the galaxy remained ignorant of their existence. You think they're still watching us? I think they've been watching everyone for a very long time, and deciding who lives and who disappears from history. Inside the human warship Retribution, Captain Sarah Chen's eyes opened for the first time in 6 months. The stasis pod's lid hissed as it retracted, filling the chamber with cool recycled air. Her body felt stiff and cold, but her mind was already sharp and alert. Emergency awakening protocols only activated for specific threats. Either the ship was under attack, or they had encountered something that required command decisions. Sarah pulled herself out of the pod and reached for her uniform hanging on the nearby wall. Aria, status report, she said, her voice rough from the long sleep. The ship's artificial intelligence responded immediately. Its voice filled the chamber through speakers built into the walls. Captain, we have been scanned by an unknown vessel. Deep penetration sensors attempted to access our computer systems, I initiated defensive protocols and began awakening the command crew. Sarah pulled on her boots and sealed her uniform. Around her, other stasis pods were opening as the senior staff began their revival process. How long were we out? 6 months, 14 days, 7 hours? We are approximately 48 hours from our planned arrival at Sol System. Almost home, Sarah muttered. Their mission beyond the galactic rim had taken 2 years. The crew deserved to see Earth again. Details on the unknown vessel. Zephyrian Confederation design. Medium patrol vessel. Crew complement of approximately 30 individuals. Technology level consistent with Category 7 civilizations. Sarah nodded as she made her way to the bridge. Category 7 meant they were dealing with a relatively primitive species. Advanced enough for interstellar travel, but not advanced enough to pose a serious threat to human operations. Any hostile actions? They attempted to board the ship, Captain. I activated perimeter defenses and established weapons lock. The boarding party retreated without attempting forced entry. Sarah entered the bridge as her officers took their stations. Lieutenant Commander Torres emerged from the tactical section, still pulling on his uniform jacket. Chief Engineer Park climbed up from the lower decks, datapad already in hand. Communications Officer Zhang powered up her console and began running system checks. Torres, what's our tactical situation? Sarah asked as she settled into the captain's chair. All weapon systems are online and ready, Captain. 6 plasma lance batteries are tracking the alien vessel. They've maintained a respectful distance since our defensive systems activated. Torres studied his displays. They're not acting aggressively, but they haven't left either. Park, ship status? All systems are functioning normally, Captain. The stellar core is running at optimal efficiency. Hull integrity is holding steady despite the battle damage from our last engagement. Park looked up from his pad. We could jump to hyperspace immediately if needed. Sarah nodded. The Retribution had seen heavy fighting during their mission. 3 different species had tried to stop them from reaching their destination beyond the galactic rim. All 3 had learned why humans didn't give up easily. Zhang, are they attempting communication? No direct contact, Captain. But I'm monitoring their transmissions. They're sending detailed reports to what appears to be their command structure. Zhang manipulated her console. Should I open a channel? Sarah considered her options. Standard human protocol for Category 7 species was observation and minimal contact. These aliens didn't know about humanity's true capabilities, and keeping it that way was usually preferable. But they had scanned the Retribution. They had attempted boarding. They had seen human technology in action, even if they didn't understand what they were looking at. ARIA, analysis of their scanning attempts. The Zephyrian vessel conducted 2 separate sensor sweeps, Captain. Initial scans were standard range finding and basic composition analysis. The second sweep was much more sophisticated, attempting to map our internal systems and power distribution. Did they succeed? Partially. Their sensors were able to detect our true hull composition and power source configuration. However, their technology is insufficient to understand what they observed. Sarah stood up and walked to the main view screen. The alien patrol ship was visible as a small dot against the stars. It looked fragile compared to the Retribution. Most ships did. What did they learn from their scans? They now know our hull contains materials beyond their technological capability to produce. They have detected our stellar core and are likely confused about how we contain and control such massive energies. They have also identified our weapon systems and should understand that we significantly outgun their vessel. Sarah smiled. She could imagine the confusion aboard the alien ship. Humans had learned long ago that making their technology appear primitive was often the best defense. Let other species think they were dealing with backward newcomers, while human ships carried the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Torres, how long have they been observing us? Approximately 72 hours, Captain. They've maintained position and have been conducting intensive scans during that entire period. Curious little creatures, aren't they? Sarah walked back to her chair. Arya, do we have any intelligence on the Zephyrian Confederation? Extensive files, Captain. The Confederation is a mid-level galactic civilization controlling approximately 200 star systems. They are generally peaceful but maintain a strong military for border security. Intelligence assessment classifies them as non-hostile but potentially useful for future human operations. Sarah accessed the intelligence files on her command console. The Zephyrians were typical of Category 7 species. advanced enough to build interstellar ships and maintain galactic communication, but still limited by their understanding of basic physical laws. Have they encountered humans before? Negative. This appears to be genuine first contact from their perspective. That was good. Humanity's expansion into the galaxy had been carefully planned and executed. Most species remained unaware of human presence, which gave Earth's forces significant advantages in gathering intelligence and planning future operations. Captain, Torres spoke up from his station. I'm detecting increased activity aboard the alien vessel. It looks like they're preparing to leave. Sarah studied the tactical display. The Zephyrian ship was slowly changing course, moving away from the Retribution. They had learned what they could and were now retreating to report their findings. Standard procedure would be to let them go, she said quietly. Yes, ma'am, Torres agreed. Minimal contact protocols. Sarah considered their situation. The Retribution was returning from a classified mission that had taken them deep into unexplored space, beyond the galactic rim. What they had found out there was information that Earth's leadership needed immediately. But these Zephyrians had scanned their ship. They had attempted boarding. They now possessed sensor data that revealed human technology capabilities far beyond what most galactic civilizations could achieve. Zhang, open a communication channel. All frequencies. Channel open, Captain. Sarah stood up and faced the main view screen. Time to make a decision that would affect human operations throughout this entire sector of space. Zephyrian vessel, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Retribution. Please respond. The bridge was quiet for several seconds. Then Zhang nodded. They're responding, Captain. Audio only. This is Captain Veltar of the Stellar Harmony. We did not expect you to be able to speak our language. Sarah smiled. The alien captain sounded nervous. That was understandable. His ship had just discovered they were dealing with something far more advanced than they had initially believed. Captain Veltar, your vessel has been observing us for 3 days. Your scanning attempts were quite thorough. Sarah kept her voice calm and friendly. I believe we need to have a conversation. Captain Veltar stared at the communication console in disbelief. The human was speaking perfect Zephyrian, not the broken, translated version they usually heard from universal translation systems. Perfect grammar, proper inflection, even the subtle accent patterns of his homeworld. How do you know our language? He asked. We've been studying your people for some time, Captain Veltar. The human's voice remained calm and pleasant. Your confederation has been quite active in this region of space. We find it useful to understand our neighbors. Veltar looked around his bridge. His crew members were all staring at their stations with expressions of confusion and growing fear. Science Officer Thorne was frantically running new scans on the alien vessel. But this is first contact, Veltar said carefully. Our records show no previous encounters with your species. That's correct from your perspective. We prefer to observe before making formal introductions. There was a pause. Captain, I think it would be beneficial if we met in person. Are you willing to come aboard our vessel? Every instinct Veltar possessed told him this was a terrible idea. The human ship had weapons that could destroy his vessel instantly. Their technology was centuries ahead of Confederation standards. Walking into their ship could be walking into a trap, but the alternative was returning to Confederation space with incomplete intelligence about a potentially dangerous new species. His duty required him to learn as much as possible. I'll come aboard, he said finally. Excellent. We'll prepare a docking bay. Please bring your senior staff if you wish. An hour later, Veltar stood in the shuttle bay of the Retribution with Science Officer Thorne and Lieutenant Kesra. The human ship's interior was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls appeared to be made of the same impossible materials they had detected during their scans. Everything was clean, efficient, and obviously built to much higher standards than Confederation technology. Captain Chen met them at the shuttle bay entrance. She was smaller than Veltar had expected, with short brown hair and intelligent eyes. 2 other humans accompanied her. They wore uniforms that looked both practical and military. Welcome aboard the Retribution, Captain Chen said in perfect Zephyrian. I hope your journey over was comfortable. Your ship is impressive, Veltar replied honestly. Thank you. Please follow me to the conference room. There's quite a lot we need to discuss. They walked through corridors that hummed with barely contained power. Veltar could feel the vibrations of the ship's stellar core through the deck plates. The humans had built their vessel around a contained star, and they walked through it like it was the most natural thing in the galaxy. The conference room was spacious and well lit. Large windows showed the stars outside with the stellar harmony visible in the distance. Captain Chen gestured for them to sit at a round table while her officers took positions nearby. Captain Veltar, before we begin, I want to assure you that you and your crew are perfectly safe, Chen said. We have no hostile intentions toward the Confederation. That's reassuring, Veltar replied, though he wondered how much choice he really had in the matter. Your scans of our vessel have revealed certain technological capabilities that must seem unusual to you. Chen activated a holographic display. In the center of the table, I imagine you have questions. The display showed a detailed map of local space, but with far more detail than any Confederation chart Veltar had ever seen. Hundreds of star systems were marked with various symbols and classifications. This is our intelligence map of this region of the galaxy, Chen explained. The blue areas represent species we've made formal contact with. Green areas are species we're currently observing. Red areas represent active threats that require monitoring. Veltar studied the map. The Confederation's territory was marked in green. They were being observed, not formally contacted. Around them were dozens of other civilizations, many of which he had never heard of. How long have you been watching us? He asked. About 50 years. Your expansion into the outer territories brought you into regions where we maintain interests. Chen manipulated the display, showing the progression of Confederation expansion over time. You've been quite successful at peaceful expansion. That's why you're classified as a non-hostile civilization. Classified by whom? By us. Humans have been active in this galaxy for much longer than most species realize. We maintain detailed intelligence on all major civilizations and many minor ones. Thorn leaned forward, his tentacles moving in patterns of scientific curiosity, mixed with concern. The technology we detected on your ship, the stellar core, the impossible hull materials, the advanced weapon systems. How did you develop such capabilities? Chen smiled. We've been fighting wars for a very long time, Science Officer Thorn. Much longer than most species in this galaxy. We've learned that survival requires constant innovation. Wars with whom? The display changed, showing a much larger view of the galaxy. Vast areas were marked in red, indicating threat zones or quarantined regions. There are species in this galaxy that consider all other life forms to be either resources to be harvested or threats to be eliminated, Chen explained. We've spent the last several centuries dealing with these threats. Veltar stared at the map. Many of the red zones corresponded to areas that Confederation long-range sensors had detected, but never investigated. Dead zones where no radio signals originated and no ships were ever seen. The Krell Empire, he said quietly, pointing to one of the red areas. They disappeared 300 years ago. We eliminated them, Chen said matter-of-factly. They were conducting systematic genocide against smaller species in this region. We gave them opportunities to change their behavior. They chose not to. The Vorthans, also eliminated. They were using captured populations as slave labor for their war machine. Chen highlighted another red zone. The Nezari fleet met the same fate for similar reasons. Veltar felt his world shifting around him. The human sitting across from him was calmly describing the destruction of entire civilizations. Species that the Confederation believed had destroyed themselves or simply vanished were actually victims of human military action. How many? He asked. 11 major civilizations over the past 1,000 years. Several dozen minor ones. Chen's expression remained calm. We don't enjoy it, Captain. But we've learned that some species cannot be reasoned with or reformed. When they threaten innocent populations, we act. And the Confederation is peaceful and non-aggressive. You explore, you trade, you occasionally defend yourselves when necessary, but you don't conduct wars of conquest or genocide. Chen smiled. That's why this conversation is taking place instead of a different kind of encounter. The implications crashed down on Veltar like a physical weight. Humanity was the apex predator species in the galaxy. They had been secretly eliminating threats for centuries while allowing peaceful civilizations like the Confederation to exist and expand. Captain Chen, he said carefully, what do you want from us? Nothing, actually. Continue being peaceful explorers and traders. Maintain your current borders and policies. Treat other species with the respect you've shown in the past. Chen manipulated the display again. In return, you'll be left alone to develop and grow as you see fit. And if we don't? The smile never left Chen's face, but her eyes became very serious. Captain Veltar, you've scanned our ship. You know what we're capable of. You've seen the evidence of what happened to species that chose different paths. Veltar nodded slowly. The message was clear without being threatening. Continue being peaceful, or face the same fate as the Krell and the Vorthons. There is one more thing, Chen continued. This conversation never happened. Your report to Confederation Command should describe a routine patrol encounter with an unknown species. Peaceful contact, minimal technology exchange, no ongoing threat. And if we report what we've really learned, then your government might make unfortunate decisions about how to respond to humanity's presence in this galaxy. That would be bad for everyone involved. Chen stood up, indicating the meeting was over. Captain, I want you to know that humans genuinely prefer peaceful coexistence. We've arranged the galaxy to allow species like yours to thrive, but that arrangement depends on everyone understanding their place in the larger picture. As they walked back to the shuttle bay, Veltar's mind raced with everything he had learned. Humanity wasn't just another species exploring the galaxy. They were the hidden guardians and executioners, maintaining order through overwhelming force and careful intelligence gathering. Safe travels back to Confederation space, Chen said as they reached his shuttle. I hope our paths cross again under similarly pleasant circumstances. As the shuttle returned to the stellar harmony, Veltar stared back at the human warship. It looked deceptively primitive from the outside, but he now knew it represented a power that dwarfed anything the Confederation could imagine. Sir, Lieutenant Kesra asked quietly, what do we tell command? Veltar thought about his options. He could report everything they had learned and watch as the Confederation leadership made increasingly desperate attempts to match human military capabilities. Or he could file a routine first contact report and hope that his people would continue to be peaceful enough to avoid humanity's attention. Routine patrol, Lieutenant. Unknown species, peaceful contact, no follow-up required. It wasn't the whole truth, but sometimes the truth was too dangerous for anyone's good.